Favi. I have an interesting topic today, man. Very, very controversial topic. Seems like every damn topic in Major League Soccer is pretty controversial. A lot of people feel very passionate on this side. A lot of people feel very passionate about it on that side. But I feel like a lot of people don't like the current playoff format.
Mm.
But before we get into that, and I'm going to explain the rules. How are we doing today, my friend?
No, I'm doing well. We had a plan to do a video, but then all of a sudden a whole bunch of bombs dropped in MLS, so we had to switch that video up. So now I'm happy to be here. Thanks for having me on. I came back from Miami, so I'm a little tired, but this is important stuff, so we're here to talk about it.
Yeah, I want to say that this is pre-recorded. This is pre-kid. That's why we're doing this. By the time you guys watch this, I will have had a kid. So just want to put that out there. Wish me luck.
Congratulations.
So let's talk about the current MLS playoff format. Let me explain it to everybody, okay? So as it currently stands, 18 teams make the MLS Cup playoffs. 9 in the Eastern Conference, 9 in the Western Conference. The 8th and 9th seed play a elimination game, single elimination, play-in game, if you want to call it, to be the 8th seed and take on the 1st seed in the first round of the playoffs. So that's the first game played. Then in the first round, every single team that's left, 16 teams, play a best of 3 series to decide who makes it to the next round. And the higher seeded team plays the first game at home and the third game if necessary. So that's how they decide that's what a lot of people are upset about, but we'll get into that in a little bit. Hey, if you're enjoying the video, make sure you give it a like down below and subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Our goal is to hit 12,000 subscribers by MLS Cup Final Day, which is less than 2 months away. A lot of exciting playoff games ahead of us, and we have real momentum, so I think we could hit that goal. So make sure you subscribe if you haven't already and hit that little bell notification so you never miss any of our videos. Now, back to the video. And then after that, after the first round, every single match is single elimination. The semifinals, of the conference games, the finals of the conference games, and obviously MLS Cup is one singular game. So we go from single elimination in the play-in to best of 3, back to single elimination, and that's how it's been since last season. Pretty radical change, right? That's not really a thing in any other league around the world. It's very MLS unique. So just wanted to put that out there in case anyone doesn't know the rules. Favi, what do you think is the biggest flaw in the current MLS playoff format?
Yeah, the current flaw is something that you've talked about many times already. I think it takes too long. I think the playoffs are too long. I think having each team get at least one home game is something that's nice. I think every fan base would love a home game at least once for the playoffs. So I don't mind having at least home and away matches. Now, do you need a best of 3? I don't think so. But that's the tough part, right? Like, how do you give the benefit to the home team for having the better schedule with doing home and away? It's tough. It's a tough system. I just think there should be consistency. If there's 3 games, make it 3 games throughout, right? Make it so that you always have to win 2 out of 3. Thomas Mueller actually talked about that in one of his press conferences, saying, I'm actually kind of used to the best of 5 because I watch other sports. But the weirdest part about the playoffs is that they don't do it all the way through. They just do it for one series. So I think that's the weirdest part, is there's no consistency, especially with the play-in as well, right? You start with the play-in, best of 3, and then you go to single elimination, which is just odd. But there's changes to be made. MLS has, been pretty susceptible to change. I mean, I think they're changing almost every other year now at this point. So there's definitely things to be said, and there's definitely things to be talked about.
Yeah, so as far as like the current format that I dislike is I just don't like the inconsistency. I mean, there's a lot of things. We're going to talk about, each piece, but inconsistency. I just mentioned I don't like how it's single elimination, then best of 3, then back to single elimination. And to preface, there's only one single elimination game to play in match, but still, it's not like they're playing a best of 3 to find out who goes to the next round. Thank God, and play the first seed in the conference. But the problem with this is, Favi, and Wilfred Nancy just talked about this recently in the games against Cincinnati. Now, look, he has a valid point, because if it was the 2-leg system like you're talking about and it was based on aggregate, Cincinnati would have won that series against Columbus. They scored 5 goals in the 3 games.
Or the other way around, right? Columbus would have won against Cincinnati.
That's what I meant. Sorry if I said Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Yes, Columbus would have won against Cincinnati on aggregate because they had 5 goals to Cincinnati's 3. But because of the way it worked out, Cincinnati won 2 of the matches. So that, to a person who follows soccer globally, that just seems weird that you would score more goals than your opponent, yet you don't advance to the next round of the series. So that is one problem. A second problem, Fabi, is look at Nashville SC and Inter Miami. They played 4 matches in a row because they played the last game of the season and then they played 3 games in the first round. That's too many matchups to watch 2 teams play. And no other league around the world has that many times they play in a row. And when you do that, it just kind of diminishes each passing game because you've seen it so many times. Right. And by the 4th game, you're just like, man, I'm just so ready for this to be over with. We've already seen these teams play 4 times, or 3 times before the game started, but you get what I mean. 4 times by the end of it. We don't need to see this again. And Inter Miami won 3 of those 4 matches. So they were clearly the better team. We didn't need to see it 4 times, right? So that is another frustrating part because of the way the schedule worked out at the end of the year and the way that the playoff format or the seeding worked out in the playoffs. So that's another thing. The third thing, sorry, I'm losing track of all these, man. There's just so many complaints I have with this, The third thing is because the first round is so long, Favi, if you are lucky enough to win your 2 matches and get the third game bye, right, of the first round, you have to wait 3 weeks to play the next game. Now, that will be changed with the new schedule change, right? Hopefully. But it feels like if they didn't have the best of 3 series, we could have played the semifinals already. We would have been able to play at least one more game before we went to the conference finals.
Right.
But the way it's currently formatted, we have seen the MLS playoffs started 3 weeks ago, and we still are only the first round just ended, essentially. We haven't even made it to the second round of the playoffs yet, and the playoffs started 3 weeks ago. Even the NBA doesn't take 3 weeks to finish their first round.
So, it's a lot.
Yeah. So those are my complaints. I don't think I'm forgetting anything. Those are 3 big things. But what do you think about the points I laid out?
Yeah, look, I agree with you. It's taking way too long, and I understand there's international breaks. I understand it's tough to play games when there's these breaks, but man, if you just had a home and away match, like a two matchup kind of thing, you can gradually get this going a lot quicker. I mean, and everybody would have the same start date and the same end date, right? Because you play 2 games. You wouldn't have this weird. You play on Tuesday and then you play again on Thursday or Friday, and then Miami doesn't play till Sunday. That was weird this year. I don't remember the prior years being that weird when it comes to the spacing of the games too. That was completely odd to me. But yeah, no, 100%. I agree with you on your points. I don't think anybody likes this inconsistency. It takes away all the steam that Miami coming into the playoffs. It's Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets' last dance, and they're playing Nashville 4 times. Nobody wanted to see that, and I know Nashville fans were tired of it. Inter Miami fans were tired of it. Yes, it brought a little bit of a rivalry. There's a little feedback back and forth between the clubs, but still, man, that's just way too many times. No team should be playing 3 times. And it just takes away steam. Miami now is in a elimination match, but you don't know until 2 weeks. Come on. And then Vancouver, they had to wait 3. So it just truly takes away all the steam from the playoffs. And hopefully that comes with the calendar change. But yeah, no, you have great points. I think that you're right on the nail.
Yeah, and also too, I think that to your point about Nashville SC and Inter Miami. That nobody wants to see that game 4 times. I kind of hit on that a little bit. It's even in the NBA and NHL and MLB, you'll play teams in the series, right? In the playoffs. I feel like a lot of fans even get fatigued with that. They're kind of man, this is game 6. We've already seen them play 5 times. That's just a lot. But in no other soccer league, this is soccer, right? There's could you imagine if Chelsea played Brentford, 4 matches in a row. So no other matches in between, nothing else, no Champions League, no friendlies, nothing. This was 4 matches. That's all they saw. They would be sick to their stomach. They'd be ready to just call it quits. They're disinterested in this.
It's kind of weird because I've grown up with like baseball, I've grown up with basketball, but it doesn't feel as drawn out as this. For some weird reason, the World Series with the Dodgers and the Blue Jays, they had different pitchers, so it felt like a different team sometimes. They had different kind of formations, but in soccer, I don't think you need 3 games. I think with 2 home and away, and then maybe take away the away goal rule, and then just do it aggregate, like full on aggregate. You would get games that would go 7-1 in the first match because it matters. You would get blowouts, and then coaches can kind of think, okay, well, maybe I could take some rest here and give their players rest if they wanted to, right? So I don't know. I just think since we're becoming closer to the soccer world with our calendar, I think it's time to do it in the playoffs as well. We don't have to be so American all the time.
No, I agree. And so that brings me to my next point. So we mentioned about the MLS schedule changing was changed yesterday, Thursday. But there was also another change, right? And this impacts the playoffs. They voted to get rid of the conferences when they make the schedule change. So there will no longer be Eastern and Western Conference. They're going to go to 5 6-team divisions, and it's going to be regionalized, obviously. So you're going to play like, LAFC, San Diego, Galaxy, LAFC are probably going to be in the same.
No, actually, San Diego, I think, is rumored to be in the Southwest division with Austin and Colorado and things like that.
Really?
Yeah, it's rumored to be San Diego's not in the California division. So we'll see how that. I mean, these are all rumors, right? But we'll see how that all plays out. Yeah, what I saw something, circling online where it was Galaxy, LAFC, Quakes, and then the Cascadia teams together, while San Diego is with the Texas teams and Colorado and RSL. And that one's interesting to me. But you have to find a way to get one of those teams into that Southwest division because. What you're going to take the Quakes? It doesn't make sense if you don't take the most south team in California.
Well, whatever they decide to do with this, it is going to be interesting to see how they regionalize and how they connect these 6 teams in the 5 divisions. But either way, whoever's division you are in, you're going to play those teams 2 times. Okay, so you're going to play 10 conference or divisional games. And then you're going to play every other single team in Major League Soccer.
Which is
so
perfect.
For the first time ever. Yeah, that's a big deal too, because now when you win Supporter Shield, and obviously it's going to be home and away, you're not going to play every team on the road and at home, but still you get to play every team now. There were matchups where LAFC hadn't played the Red Bulls in 4 or 5 years.
Right.
That's ridiculous. And to be in the same league, there had been teams relegated in the Premier League who had played teams in the Premier League more they played them more recently than some MLS teams who had never been relegated. They've been in the same conference, the same league the entire time. But with that, obviously the Supporter Shield holds a little more weight now because now you can say I'm the best team. I played every single team in this league.
There's definitely going to be more sporting merit to the Supporter Shield. And that was my biggest gripe about the Supporter Shield was that you don't really play every single team, So that I think you can't call it an unfair trophy now. I think there's going to be divisions that are obviously more stacked, just like how it is in the NFL. But if you have the best schedule, if you have the best standing, you are the winner and you played everybody. So I think that is fair. You're going to be number 1 on the table.
Well, and another thing too that I want to mention, that's the reason I brought this out, because some of you are probably thinking, well, what does the supporter stuff do with the playoffs? The reason why it's important is because now the league table as a whole is going to seed each playoff team. They're not going to have conferences anymore. So the number 1 and number 2 teams are probably going to be on separate sides of the bracket and have a chance to play each other. And what's cool about that, Fabi, which I want to bring this up, is now with there not being conferences, first of all, that's good for the playoffs because now, what if the Eastern Conference is just way better and the Western Conference is bad, but the Western Conference team is just guaranteed to get that final spot? because they're obviously in the conference, right? There's going to be a Western Conference representative. Now that doesn't matter anymore. The two best teams in the league are going to face each other in the MLS Cup final, and there's a chance we can get an El Trafico final now. How cool is that?
Yeah, honestly, to see a regional rivalry like that be possible for the last game of the year, I think everybody wants to see that. I mean, you're gonna be in for Hollywood lights at that point, because that's a matchup set in history to be an MLS Cup final. I still think that's the best rivalry in soccer, and if we can get that for an MLS Cup final, man, that's gonna give you River Boca vibes. That's gonna give you some of these best rivalries in the world vibes, because that's gonna be such a crazy environment if that happens. Even like a New York Derby for the final would be
Hudson River,
insane.
yeah.
Yeah. Or imagine Portland, Seattle for a final, right? Like these type of rivalries would be insane to see.
Columbus, Cincinnati, hell is
Yeah, hell
real.
is real. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
No, that'd be so cool, and I love the change. I think yeah, this is needed. This is definitely
That's cool,
needed.
right? That's
Yeah,
honestly cool as hell. Like that is a good thing, right?
yeah.
So I wanted to mention that because they are getting rid of conferences. All these are possibilities now. Now let's get to the proposed change that they're going to make when it comes to format, as far as like elimination games and replicating another league's playoff format. So read this real quick. The proposed changes to MLS structure would see teams reportedly split into 5 divisions, which you talked about. Clubs would have to play a home and away game against their division and also play the remaining 24 teams in MLS one time. Awesome. We agree with that. Bringing the total to 34 games, which is what they already have. And then it says other ideas floated in the report included shifting the playoff structure to a new style similar to the Canadian Premier League, where higher seeds play qualifying matches against each other and would get a second chance against lower seeds should they lose the first match. So essentially, the way I read that, Favi, is that the higher seeded teams are going to get a chance to lose one match.
Yeah.
And then if they do, they have to lose 2 to be eliminated. But the lower seeded teams, they lose 1 and they're done. What do you think about that proposed? And I think that that's the way that Australia, the A League, does it right now, if I'm not mistaken. But what do you think about that proposed change?
Yeah, it reminds me a lot of the NBA playing matches. I mean, 8, 9, and 10 all play a playing match, but the eighth seed gets 2 opportunities to qualify. So if you're an American sports fan, that seems like that is an option, that's relative to you. But I'm not a big fan of it because, um, like this year, Philadelphia wasn't in Leagues Cup, wasn't in the Club World Cup. They were able to just focus on basically the table. They were able to focus on MLS regular season, and they were the number 1 seed because they weren't in as many competitions as Miami or LAFC or even Vancouver. So personally, I don't think that team should have an advantage because they might not play as many games as the other teams that qualify for other competitions. Because if Leagues Cup's going to be the same way, where you have to make the playoffs, and Leagues Cup is a hard tournament to play, because you have to play within the MLS season, so you want to be able to qualify for the CONCACAF Champions Cup through it. So that takes over a bit of a priority than the MLS season. I don't think they should have that because that's an unfair advantage in my opinion.
Yeah, I think that I personally don't like this proposal. I think that they should just go back to the way it was. And this is kind of like the final point of like what we would do. What would be our ideal playoff format for the MLS? And guys, let us know down below what you would change or what you like about the current format in Major League Soccer. If you like this Canadian Premier League format being adopted to Major League Soccer, let us know in the comment section down below. But Favi, I think MLS tries to do things where they make things way too complicated. It's easy just to point to their salary cap rules and all that their mechanisms they have.
Yeah.
They are the most complex thing I've ever seen, and they make things way more difficult than they have to be. I think they need to go back to the way it was, where teams just play 2-legged matches.
Yeah.
And I forgot to mention this. The reason why they like the best of 3 is because they want that ticket sell revenue. They want to have the people in that stadium and this stadium and possibly back in that stadium. But you could alleviate that with just having 2 legs all the way through. So
Yeah.
I think they should have two legs all the way through in Major League Soccer. And that way you have a home and away. And people have pushed back on me and they said, but Will, you're not going to be able to give that higher seed team an advantage. They're going to be at a disadvantage because they're having to play at home in the first match. And then the lower seed team's going to know how many goals they need to win. And I say, well, if that's what you feel, if you think that the home team the first game is an advantage, then let the lower seed team play the first game at home.
Yeah.
Or just let the higher seed team pick.
Yeah,
just let them pick which one they prefer to do. Also, I forgot to mention this. This is another thing, Fabi. I have to mention this. Get rid of 18 teams in MLS playoffs. There doesn't need to be 18 teams. Half the league doesn't deserve to make the playoffs. There needs to be consequences of bad seasons. You shouldn't be fighting for that playoffs. Like 6 teams shouldn't be fighting for a playoff spot at the end of the year.
So you're going to have a division of 5, right? You're going to have 5 divisions. You
Yes.
probably have the 1 seed from each division, and then maybe a wild card, right? Like one team that should have made it, but they were in a stacked division or something like that.
I think that might be too. I don't think they're ever going to do that little. I would like to see 8 teams in the playoffs. I think that'd be perfect.
Like 3 wild cards.
Because if you do 2 legs, right, and you have to split it up, that means that you're going to have, you're going to have 2 games between the 2. That's going to be a week, between the first game and the next game, 1 week in so that's, then you're going to go down to 4 teams. I would say that'd probably take about a month. I would say if you had 8 teams, but they're probably going to do 12 teams. They're probably going to do 12 teams, or maybe they keep it at what it is right now. Hopefully that's not the case.
2 from each division and then 2 wild cards. I can see that.
2 from each division. Yeah. No, exactly. No, that's true. Yes. Or maybe do 2 from each, or 1 from each division, and then 3 wild cards, which would be the 8 that I would like to do. Right. Then the 3 highest seeded teams that didn't win their division. But either way, they have to get rid of 18 teams. 18 of 30 teams makes it watered down. It's hard to believe that only 12 teams don't have a chance to make the playoffs. That's just not. What are the consequences? That means that bad teams are making the playoffs. And if you look at it this year, every higher seeded team won this in the first round, except one, which is New York City FC. They're the only higher seeded team that didn't win. So a lot of bad teams didn't deserve to make it. Yeah, I don't think they just were outmatched, and it was low quality ball, honestly, in my opinion. So I think they need to make the regular season mean something, and you have to play well in it to make the playoffs.
Yeah,
that's how you have the high stakes. If you didn't play good in the regular season, you don't make the playoffs.
Right.
So 8, 12, whatever. Just get rid of 18. That's too many damn teams.
I agree.
So shrink the amount of teams that make it as 1. Make it 2 legs all the way up into the final. And don't do the away goal difference. Don't do that. Like the Champions League got rid of that. Get rid of that. Just don't do that. Okay. Just make it whoever, if it's tied through 90 in the second leg on gold on
or how about aggregate, this? Make MLS Cup 1 game though at the end.
No, that needs to be 1 game. I agree. I'm just talking about everything leading up needs to be 2. Like even the Western Eastern Conference, well, they're not gonna do that anymore. But the games that get you to the finals, you know what I mean? The games that get you to the final needs to be a 2-legged match, home and away. And I feel like if you do that, Favi, you're going to actually get the best teams in the final.
Yeah.
So that's what I would do. I'm trying to think if there's anything else I would do. So shrink it, 2-leg matches all the way up until the final, then do that as a single elimination, winner take all, hopefully in a neutral site eventually. Let's make it a big deal.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with that.
Yeah. Let's make it a neutral site where it's a spectacle where everybody wants to go to. I think people would go to that. I think that especially as much as, if the game keeps growing, it'll eventually get to that point.
My whole thing is, why don't you make the MLS Cup final in these big stadiums? You would get people to go to these MLS Cup finals. Let's say if it was in Seattle and everybody knew it was in Seattle, you would probably sell out 40 to 50,000 seats, no matter what teams make it.
Well, what if it was in Dallas or Houston or Atlanta? Like, I just feel like this is my whole thing about the final. They make the Champions League final different every single year, right? And I think when you have it at a home venue, first of all, it's a disadvantage to one of the teams.
Yeah.
Second of all, it kind of makes it seem Bush League. Like it's not as big of a deal as it should be. Like it should be this neutral, big environment party between two teams where every fan of each team gets a chance to go watch their club play.
And also, it's an away day, right? It's something where you get to go experience another city, you know?
Yeah, no, I agree. Could you imagine a final in Vegas?
Right, right. That'd be so cool.
Like at Allegiant Stadium,
Yeah,
LAFC versus Inter Miami in Vegas.
yeah,
People are going to go to that.
that'd be wild.
People are going to go to that, right?
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, that's probably everything. Is there anything you'd like to add? Like, is there anything that
Yeah.
you disagree with, or?
No, no, I agree with everything you said. I like that plan. The one thing I kind of thought about, all those MLS All-Star fans that wanted East versus West again, it's not gonna
Yeah.
happen, you know? It's not gonna happen.
Over with.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's over with because the conferences are gone. So Saudi Pro League or the Saudi All-Stars versus the MLS All-Stars were coming up. So watch out, guys.
I think what they're going to do eventually is they're going to have two team captains for MLS where they have like a Messi and a Son level player. Like, I'm not saying it's going to be them. And
Yeah.
they're just going to do like what they do in the NFL Pro Bowl where they do a
Makes
draft.
sense.
They'll
Yeah.
just draft players from the league and make their own teams.
I honestly think they could do the versus the All-Stars forever. Like you can do the Brazil, you can do Argentina, you can do
Yeah,
Saudi.
you could. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting.
But if they ever did do MLS versus MLS, they would just probably do a team draft where they pick this guy and that guy and they just pick their players and draft them out. So yeah, Favi, listen, MLS's playoff system is broken right now. I think it's disinteresting because of the way it's laid out. We still watch it, we still enjoy it, but we're going through a break right now currently because international break and all the momentum has been completely halted. We still have to wait another week and a day before the next playoff match, which sucks.
Yeah.
And I hope that the fan interest is still there. And also, too, hey, real quick, just to mention this, now the playoffs are going to be in May, which is going to be so much better than November and December. Way better. Like, especially for someone like you or
Yeah.
me, want to go to a game, way better weather, and you're not competing with college football conference championship games on MLS Cup. Now you're just maybe competing with an NBA playoff game, which is I'd rather compete against that than a college football championship game. So I hope they get this right, man. It's not that complicated, has a lot of potential, and I'm curious to see what everyone thinks about it. Bob, you got any final thoughts?
Yeah, man. I'm actually excited to see all the comments. So if you guys are watching this, make sure you write your opinion because they haven't even thought of something yet, you know? So definitely, if you have an opinion, let your voice be heard because who knows who's watching.
I agree. Favi, I appreciate you for hopping on with me. Maybe we changed some people's mind. Maybe we didn't. But guys, make sure you go follow Fabian at Threads. He's the only man on there. Make sure you go follow him there at Fabian Rankel. Go follow him on Twitter/X. Go follow him on. He's got a YouTube channel, which I'll link down below. And also make sure you go follow him on TikTok. The guy has been absolutely destroying over there.
Hey,
He's trying to get me in on that, but I haven't made the full switch yet.
I'm trying to be a TikTok star, you know? 6'7".
You're trying to get
No, I'm just kidding.
you're trying to get that silver TikTok plaque, man. So yeah, make sure you go check him out. Good friend of mine, has great work. Maybe has some stuff in the future lined up. Maybe a big job on the horizon. We'll see. We'll see.
Yeah.
But Favi, I appreciate it, my friend. Until next time, guys. I will see you all soon.